So there's a lot of power in silent integrity. What do I mean by silent integrity? I mean integrity that is not openly displayed, integrity that is secret. Because everybody displays integrity openly. They advertise how virtuous they are, how moral they are. And in my experience, the louder somebody proclaims and markets how good they are, how charitable, how humanitarian, how moral, the less trustworthy they normally are. They think that in order to appear trustworthy, all they have to do is dress in a fancy suit or speak religious quotes or work for a charity organization, and then everybody's going to believe they're good people. But what you'll see in life with experience is that the more effort somebody puts into appearing virtuous, the less virtuous they often are. Not always. Some people want to appear virtuous out of guilt or whatever, but the true people that are truly integrous, the people that are truly decent, require no effort whatsoever to prove as much. They don't have to keep affirming it. You see, if you always have to affirm something and affirm and affirm and affirm, it's because deep down you don't believe it. Deep down you have doubts. Why do you have doubts? I don't know. Maybe you're not as clean as you present yourself as. The same goes for other areas as well, of course. I mean, people who are excessively clean, who have to wipe away the slightest speck of dust at the first appearance, people who are obsessed with cleanliness, are also trying to cover something up. That's for sure. So they overcompensate. In psychology, it's called overcompensation. That doesn't mean you should be filthy or dirty. That's not what I'm saying. That's the other extreme. But, you know, somebody who keeps affirming something does not believe it is so. And I know that from my work as a reality creation coach. If you believe something deep down, it's in your subconscious, you know it's true, you don't even have to mention it. So, silent integrity. Before we talk about what silent integrity is, let's first talk about what integrity is. Let's define that. So, the normal definition of it is being moral, upright, honest. It's even associated with nobility. But there's some other dictionary definitions of it I'd like you to become aware of. And this one here says, the state of being whole and undivided. And that's a more interesting definition to me. The state of being whole and undivided. And that means that you are your wholesome, complete self. Your thoughts, words, and actions are aligned. And that makes you reliable and therefore trustworthy. Can you see how that could be one of the big secrets of success in life? Being trustworthy and reliable for real? And it is actually. You give a lot of money to those people who have proven themselves to be reliable and trustworthy. And those are the people that become rich through their silent integrity. They don't go around saying how awesome they are, how great they are. This kind of self-praise is suspicious. They just do their job in the best way they can because they're good-willed people. Goodwill is my personal definition of integrity. Goodwill means that my intentions are good even if I sometimes make mistakes. So my definition of integrity is not moralism, where I do good out of the threat of punishment. It's more a thing of good intention, goodwill. Maybe it doesn't always work out. For that I forgive myself. But there's a general intent to be loving, kind, caring, and do the right thing, regardless of whether it's expedient or not. To say my truth, regardless of whether people agree or not. To do what's right, not what's expedient. And that guarantees my long-term success. For example, I once had the offer of one of the biggest publishers in the world to publish my book, my most popular book, Parallel Universes of Self. And back then, that was in 2006, when I shopped this book around all over the place, and it actually got read by one of these really, really big houses. And they said, yeah, we'll publish it. And I was excited, I was happy. But, they said, you got to remove all these parts about aliens and extraterrestrials. Why? Because there's self-improvement books, and then there's books about aliens. Those are two separate categories. You can't just mix them. And I said, you have no idea what aliens might have to do with self-improvement, or lack thereof. And I'm not going to delete that, because then my book is going to be watered down and sound just like any other self-improvement book. But it won't be uniquely me, it won't be my truth. And then the lady said, well, then you're not going to get a contract. Simple as that. And then I said, okay, then I'm not going to publish with you. And you might think that this sort of integrity, which is also integrity to yourself, honesty to yourself especially, would lead to lack of success. Because had I said yes to that, I would have become so rich at such an early age, okay, at such a young age. I would have had all marketing for free, widespread publication for free, newspaper articles for free, TV interviews for free, none of which I had without a big publisher. So why do I say no? And does integrity lead to this kind of lack of success? And my answer to that is no, absolutely not. Integrity can appear to lead to short-term lack of success, but in the long run, it always wins. In the long run, staying whole and complete and true to yourself always wins. It always wins in the end, even though at first sight it may appear not to. Because had I signed that contract, had I sold my soul, it would have been the beginning of a process that leads to similar, because they already got me once. So if I install the belief that non-integrous action leads to the success, then I'm going to be willing to do more non-integrous action. Okay, so next time that publisher might say, well, about your second book, if we want to publish another book of yours, why don't you write about this and this? And I say, well, I don't want to write about that. I actually want to write about this. And then they'd say, well, then we can't publish your second book. And I say, okay, I'll write about it. Which leads to the next non-integrous action, and the next, and the next, and the next. So it would have been a path to the dark side, where I'd always have to do stuff that I don't want to do in order to get money. Does that remind you of anyone? It's most people in the world, okay? They've gone down the dark side of believing they have to do things that are not good for others or for them in order to achieve success. And that's negative success. It's not positive success, and I wouldn't even define it as success as such. What many people define as success isn't. It may be riches, it may be fame, but it's not really success because they're not happy. They're not content within. Do you see what I'm saying? So, success is actually not only riches, it's also having time, it's also doing what you like, it's also health. So if you do what's expedient rather than what's right, it's going to be at the cost of something else. It's going to be at the cost of your health, at the cost of your good conscience, at the cost of being able to look at yourself in the mirror. There's always a price attached. And true success has no strings attached, none whatsoever. And that's an important thing to tell people, to tell you, because that's the general belief. If I want to have money, if I want to have success, there are strings attached. But there are none. Okay? Now, this next definition of integrity I found very interesting too. And it says here in the internet, in the dictionary, the condition of being unified or sound in construction. The condition of being unified or sound in construction. Isn't that interesting? It means that all parts fit together. And if we extrapolate that to spirituality in your life, what it means is that if you are integrous inside, true to yourself, if you are your true self, everything else fits together. Everything else falls into place. You meet just the right people at just the right time, and things that happen to you are good things because you are sound in structure. And it also means that your success is stable because it's built on a sound structure. It's stable success. It's not vulnerable. It could last forever. You'll still be successful in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years because your success is built on sound principles. You are not a one-hit wonder. And that's what integrity gives you. Silent integrity. It gives you stability and a special subtle power that can be felt by others subconsciously. They won't exactly know it by information, maybe by word of mouth. You'll have a good reputation or whatever, but they'll sense it. Okay? There's a lot of people out there, they worry about reputation too much. They make sure they control their reputation online and delete everything that might harm their reputation. They want to create a good image in front of the world. And the reason for that is because they have no real integrity. That means they're not honest to themselves, and if they're not honest to themselves, they're also not honest to others. These two go hand in hand, okay? If you're honest to yourself, you're naturally honest to others. If you're honest to others, you're naturally honest to yourself. Because you see others as a mere reflection of yourself. The way you treat others is the way you treat yourself, because everything is consciousness and everything is one. So what you do for others, you do for yourself. If you lie to others, you're lying to yourself. There's absolutely no point in lying. No advantage whatsoever, and yet we believe there's some kind of advantage to dishonesty. There isn't, okay? Not in the long run. In the short term, maybe, but not in the long run. So it's a lot of short-term thinking that leads to problems. Lies lie at the root of all suffering. False information, falsehood, disinformation lie at the root of all suffering. Because if you had valid, workable, reliable information, there would be no suffering. For example, if you have a health condition and the doctor does not provide you good information, your health is not going to improve. Why doesn't he provide you good information? Well, maybe he was lied to. Maybe he's misinformed, and that's how we pass mis- and disinformation on from generation to generation to generation. But if your thoughts are true and valid, if your beliefs are true and valid, your life is going to work. How do you know whether the things you believe are true? Your life works. If your life is not working, then you have to correct your thinking, correct your methods, correct your actions. But it starts in the thinking, okay? There must be some thinking that is just off. So integrity is doing good whether people are watching or not. It's doing the right thing whether convenient or not. It's following higher principles whether people agree or not, speaking your authentic truth whether people like it or not, treating your fellow humans with compassion whether your ego approves or not. It's doing the job you said you would do whether it gets difficult or not. It's alignment. And I myself don't like to talk of integrity that much. You'll have noticed I don't speak of it that much, especially not in the sense of self-praise. And in general, I don't like to talk about myself much. It's not something you talk about or advertise, it's something you just are. You are that or you're not. What's there to talk about? You do it or you don't. What's there to talk about? There's people, they always tell you what they're going to do and how great they're going to be. But if they were going to be, they just would be. So there's a lot of merit in talking less and showing, demonstrating more. You know, if you will do it, why don't you just go ahead and do it? Which is why I don't like many of these marketing companies out there that advertise a product, what it will do, what you will achieve. Well, if they have anything good to offer, why don't they just show it right now? Okay? Or secrets that will be exposed someday. Well, if you got secrets to expose, why don't you do it right now? So you have this silent integrity, and as a consequence, everybody wants to be your friend because they feel it subconsciously who you are. Everybody wants to be your customer. It's a real success key right there. Look no further. There it is. Now, fortunately, the more integrity you gain, the easier it is to see through false integrity. That's the good news. You can't really detect lies if you yourself are lying to yourself and others. You know, like attracts like, law of attraction. You can only be lied to without detecting it if you yourself are a liar. It takes one to know one. And what you put out is what you get back. And the more integrous and aligned you become, the more clear and truthful you become, the more authentic you become, the more easily you see through BS, the more easily you see through the lies of the world, through the lies of others, and you then no longer have to protect and defend yourself from lies because they'll be so easy to detect in an instant. You see an ad on TV, you'll know it's BS. You'll hear your colleague say something and you'll know whether it's true or not. The ability to discern truth from falsehood is so important in this world. So important. And that you can only do if you yourself are true. Now, these are the global levels of integrity according to my research. And they spell good news because most people are actually good people. Most people are mostly integrous. The only times they're not integrous is when they're exhausted or fearful or under pressure. But when they're in a relaxed, natural state, most people are mostly integrous, and that's great news. That means you can allow yourself to trust a little bit more, to trust most people. And did you know that when you extend your trust fully, other people will have a very, very hard time betraying you. It becomes increasingly difficult. Even if they're not trustworthy and you extend your full trust, they'll have a hard time. Okay? A very hard time. So people whose trust were betrayed often did not trust in the first place. Did not fully trust in the first place. Okay? And then there's a few people you cannot trust, but you should be able to discern that quite easily in your wholesome state. The world is run by people with no integrity or with total integrity, as these are the only two ways to gain sufficient power. But most people are somewhere in between, wavering and undecided on which path they take, the path of light or the path of darkness. Now, if you wanted to make an exercise out of this, you just list the times in your life where you did what's expedient instead of what you knew in your heart was right. And then you'd list all the times in your life where you did what's right instead of what's expedient or convenient. Okay, you just list that, and if you just list that, you give your subconscious a comparison. You teach your subconscious and your conscious mind, of course, too. And you'd also learn at a deeper level that doing the right thing sometimes appears difficult. It's not always comfortable at first, but in the long run, it's always easier, and in the long run, there are no regrets. There are no regrets, okay? And that's why doing the right thing, even though it appears more difficult, is actually easier and makes your life so easy, so effortless. Because I'm not afraid to do the right thing, I confront the right thing, even though it might appear more difficult, I get it over with, and the rest of the ride is easy. A good example maybe from people's life is their behavior toward workout. Let's say you like to go to the gym, but you're sometimes too lazy to. So if you're the gym type, let me ask you this. Have you ever regretted going to the gym? Your answer is probably not. Probably not ever. Have you ever regretted not going to the gym? The answer is probably yes, many, many times. You see how this works? So, doing the right thing never leads to regrets. That's how you know it was the right thing. You don't regret that, and you don't have to live your life in shame and guilt and remorse over chances lost and all kinds of stuff that people get involved with. when they're non-integrous. Okay, so I wish you the power of silent integrity, secret integrity. Nobody has to know about it, but you also do the right thing when nobody's watching. It's silent. And you don't do it for others. You don't do it in order to show how great you are. That's an insecure person. You do it for yourself. It's a gift you give to yourself because you want to be at peace. And isn't peace the greatest good? Inner peace. My name is Fred Dodson. If this lesson was valuable to you, hit the subscribe button in the lower right corner, and also share this video far and wide. Have a nice day.